of Lincoln Heights regular council meeting is now in session. Today's date is Monday, April 24th, 2023. The time is 7:32. Roll call, Ms. Randolph.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumfree,
Present.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Present.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber, Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter. No response. Councilman Durance Daniels,
Present.
Councilwoman Tanya Key. No response. Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell.
Present.
Mayor, we have 5 who are present, 2 who are absent, both of whom who have contacted my office to say that they will not be attending tonight's meeting.
Okay, thank you. Dear gracious and eternal Father, we want to thank you for bringing us in this place. Lord, we ask you to touch the council members that were able to attend. Lord, we ask you that to put us together that we make the right decisions for the village of Lincoln Heights. And Lord, we ask you to bless the residents of Lincoln Heights as well. Through summer, going through bereavement in the village of Lincoln Heights, we ask you to bless them as well. And all these blessings I ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to excuse Councilwoman Tanya Key and Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter?
Motion.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right. Motion in order for the acceptance of the agenda, the regular consent and supplemental agenda.
Motion. Second.
It's been moved in second.
Amen.
Have to get used to this new agenda. Motion in order for the filing of the Journal Committee of the Whole meeting minutes for April 10th and regular council meeting minutes from April 10th, 2023 as well, with any necessary corrections.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, announcements. Councilman Daniels?
Yes, ma'am. 2 quick announcements. First, to all our residents, free health screenings take place this weekend, Saturday, April 29th at Washington Park, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You also have headliners like Darwin Hobbs, national gospel recording artist, jazz saxophonist Yannette Harris, as well as some local artists, specifically Lakeisha Kiki Ely. And I also just like to personally thank the sisters of AKAs, Alpha Kappa Alphas, came out and planted 20 trees in the village of Lincoln Heights this weekend during Earth Day to beautify our community. So those are my announcements.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Councilwoman Baber?
Yes, recreation meeting is Wednesday, May the 3rd at 5:30. Please come.
Okay. All right, thank you. Vice Mayor?
I have no announcements, Mayor.
Okay. Councilwoman Mitchell?
No announcements.
Okay. And I don't have any announcements as well. Okay. Looks like we don't have any hearing from the residents.
No, Mayor.
Okay. All right. We'll go right into the regular agenda then. Communications to council from the clerk of council, Lisa Randolph.
Yes, Mayor, I have one invite. I made a copy, and every council member has a copy of it. It's an invitation, and it states that you're invited to the grand opening, blessing, and ribbon cutting of Sister Anne's Courtyard that's going to take place at St. Monica's Recreation Center. That's 122 Chester Road. Everything will take place on Wednesday, May 3rd from 2 until 3 p.m. And it's sponsored by St. Monica's Recreation Center.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Randolph. Okay, all righty. Communications, I don't have anything at this time. I've already given my mayor's court report at the last council meeting, so I don't have anything for this council meeting as far as communications. We would normally have the village administrator, Jeff Stack's reports, but we do, he's not available today, but we do have Mr. Key, who could give the project update.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the administrator's report. Mr. Steck highlighted Memorial Field, Gateway sign, the 1100 Lindy abatement and demolition project, the broadband Wi-Fi, Chamberlain Avenue and Douglas Street improvements, and the Lindy Leggett repavement as projects. In each of these, he's given a little detail about what is going on with each project. And I know he asked, or he was going to ask, if there were other projects that he failed to mention that council wanted an update on.
Any questions for Mr. Key? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Key, for giving the administrator's report in the absence of Mr. Stack. We do hope that he feels better, and we'll be looking forward to hearing from him in the near future. Okay. All right. That leaves our next report from the village solicitor, Mr. Deepak Desai.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, residents. So this month, we're now into the second meeting. Of course, as always, a fair amount of time is spent for the meetings drafting legislation. Perhaps one of the more significant ones that we drafted and then passed at the last meeting was the approval of the 2022 opioid settlements, which I believe Mr. Key or Mr. Steck then went ahead and docu-signed the participation agreement that was due on April 18th. So we'll see what comes from that. Of course, we also put together legislation at the last meeting along with a contract for the new village administrator, Mr. Jeffrey Stack. So there was a substantial amount of time spent putting that together. I shared that with the mayor, the vice mayor, and the manager. So rounds of revisions based on comments from them, but that is now signed, and I do believe, Mr. Key, I still owe you a law director's signature on that contract, but otherwise it is signed and in place. Perhaps the biggest thing that I have seen this month that council has to grapple with in the coming months has to do with the sheriff's contract. I understand in the committee of the whole meeting there was some discussion about that, so I won't go over much of it in detail, but my general understanding is that there's just an economic reality with that contract, that the increasing cost of that contract through year 3 are cost prohibitive. We're in the second year of the contract. We're already at the end of April, so we're fastly approaching the midpoint. And I did have a conversation with Mr. Steck at the end of the last meeting, just alerting him to the fact that that's a real high priority because we're operating without a contract, essentially, is what we've been doing. And council, of course, knows what some of the obstacles to getting the contract signed have been, one of which, of course, was the mayor's court issue. Mr. Stack, and I discussed a couple of things, but given the economic reality, somebody's going to have to do some legwork reaching out to other policing agencies to determine if there is a desire for them to perhaps form a relationship with the village where they would take over policing services. Obviously, there's a lot of data and information council would need about that in terms of the level of coverage, the cost, what type of equipment and resources they have. Mr. Steck did offer that, he was willing to do that if council would like him to do that. So I think that's something, as I understand it, council is probably going to start looking at that as we go into the May meetings. And of course, it's going to be, I'm sure, part of Mr. Key's tax budget. The council will probably get, sometime in June, Mr. Key. So something to be thinking about. It's an economic situation where, you can only afford what you can afford. And obviously, we need police protection services. So something that will need to be looked at really hard over the next few months. Let's see. We also, of course, have left over the findings for recovery from the last two audits. We received some letters from the Attorney General's office wanting to know if we were going to pursue collection or if we would like to defer collection to the AG's office. They do charge a percentage for that. Mr. Key, do you remember, is that 11%?
I believe it's less than that, but I can check.
Okay. I don't know why, but 11% sticks in my brain, but it could be less. But Mr. Key and I had several discussions about it. One of the concerns always, of course, is if I do that, there's a cost to the village without any guarantee of recovery. And then we also had, with some of the contracts that we engage in with these public agencies, they wrap into it a clause that says that you're doing something about the findings of recovery. We had that, for example, with the ODNR contract. So long story short, what Mr. Key and I did was to reach out to the Attorney General's office and say, yes, we'll elect deferral to you immediately and allow them to pursue recovery. The good news for the village with that approach is it satisfies that clause in the contracts that we have with the public agencies, the most recent one being the ODNR contract on the concession stand, right? That was the concession stand? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to, I sent you an email. I'm not sure you got it yet, but it was not needed. As far as the contract for the concession stand, it was whether there were findings against the village itself, not any individuals.
Individuals, okay.
So we
Okay.
didn't have to worry about that.
Well, that's good. That's good.
So, I have a question. So what is the amount of the findings?
They vary. These all go back to the unpaid and unused vacation time and sick
Well,
time.
we don't have a total that we,
Yeah, I mean, we could add them up for you.
okay. I mean, because I just like to present that at the finance meeting.
John, can you get that number together for
Yeah,
it?
they were in the audit findings, and we can pull that back up again. It
Yeah,
has all the-
yeah, I know, I just don't remember, I mean, it was separated, you know what I'm saying? They're all through the finding, but I just think we need to know what that total is, or we can bring all of the findings up at the finance meeting, if you will.
Yeah, it's all on one document, so it should be easy to calculate.
Okay, so other than that, we have had the filing period for devaluation of property before the Board of Revision. That closed at the end of March. This year, there were not many filings, which was a good thing. There is one that we are contesting, and there is one that we're still debating about whether it makes sense to contest it. That has to do with the property down here on 1010 Stephen Avenue. Mr. Key and Mr. Steck and I, and then of course the mayor and vice mayor are copied on all those communications. We'll figure out whether it makes economic sense to go after it.
The address?
1010 Stephan. It looks to be a relatively new rehab. I think there's a house on it. I want to say it's kind of a greenish color, greenish siding, and then there's an adjacent open lot next to it.
You mean up here on the corner?
Down that way.
Oh.
So, yeah,
If I got,
1010. I mean, you know, it's on the right-hand side,
Sure.
if you go that way.
So we'll make a decision about that. We have until the end of April to file a counter complaint if we decide to do that. One other thing I did just want to mention to council that was something that I had not seen previously, but in that ODNR contract for the concession stand, it required a representation be made that no council member or their spouse had made a contribution to the Ohio governor or his campaign committees. So I did send an email out about that, asking anyone if they had done so to let me know, because our representation is that nobody has done that. Yes, it would be to DeWine. And I gave, I think, a time period in there. I think it was for the last 2 calendar years. I presume there's just something from the Ohio Ethics Commission or something where they just want to kind of trace, if people are giving contributions and then state money is coming back, they want to make sure there's no funny business going on. So if you did not receive that email or didn't get a chance to respond and you did make a contribution to the governor or his campaign committees, please let me know ASAP. The final thing has to do with the appropriation matter for the access route from Lindy to Memorial Field. As you know, back in September or October of 2021, we filed a petition to appropriate approximately a 50-foot wide by 290-foot long section, what had traditionally been the access route. We argued a summary judgment motion that I filed on behalf of the village on March 30th. We argued that. The basis for the motion was simply that the only issue before the court is what's the payable value, what's the fair market value of that access route. And after we argued it, the judge did rule from the bench. He ruled that there was no reason to go to a jury trial, that all the evidence was in the village's favor, and that the amount that the appraiser the village hired, who was an expert in right-of-ways, in the amount, I believe it was $43,650, was the right amount. I tendered an order to the court. They asked me to draft the order. I tendered a 9-page order to the court on Friday, April 14th. On Monday, April 17th, I received an email back from the clerk of the judge, the law clerk, indicating that the judge had signed it. It had been sent over to the clerk of courts. Last week, I received both a paper and electronic notice from the clerk indicating they had journalized the entry. And it's not until it's journalized that it becomes official. So there's an appeal period of 30 days, but basically after that appeal period runs, if there's no appeal, what we will do is we have to have the entry sent over to the the auditor and the treasurer, the auditor to take it off the tax records, the treasurer to take it off the track records, vest title in us. They then give that back, and then that goes over to the recorder's office. So there's still a paperwork process to formally vest title in the village, but we have possession of the property. We had it as of the day we filed the petition under the revised code. So that litigation is coming to an end, and it's come to a very favorable end from the village's standpoint. So that's my report, and I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any. Yes, sir.
To that, while you were talking about do you remember when the cops grant ends, by any chance? It's not finished yet. Do you know when the cops grant ends? Follow up to that then.
It stops this year.
It ends, it's supposed to end, I think, at the end of August, but it may get extended due to some other different types of circumstances.
Okay.
Correct, Mr. Key?
Yes, go ahead, Ms. King.
I believe they said it actually ends in June. They have the option to try to extend it because it was for 10 officers and they lost 2 to the military and 2 quit. So they have a lot of hours that they didn't expend that money. And so they can extend it for the length of those extra hours that they still have.
That was one reason why I was asking that, just on the piece of excess hours. Is that something you can contribute to that? And then my second question would be, just from a legal standpoint, what is the legality of the county kind of working against our best interests in defunding our mayor's court? So you have a police department that's trying to negotiate with us, and obviously they're working in our best interest when it comes to enforcement. So is there any legal conflict of interest that kind of plays into that at all, just out of curiosity?
I don't know if there's a legal conflict of interest. I mean, the comments I made to Mr. Stackpole last fall when they were here, I think, we have the right under both the revised code and, then kind of carrying into our home rule power to have a mayor's court. The sheriff's office has just established a policy where they don't want to be involved with mayor's courts. They don't want to cite. So there's nothing I'm aware of that, would force them to do that. And that, of course, is, was probably the major obstacle that arose last summer in trying to get that contract finalized. At this point, even if they would agree to cite to mayor's court, the bigger issue that I'm understanding now is just the economic reality of it, right, Mr. Key? I mean, we just don't have the revenue to support the amount of the contract. So that, to me, seems to have kind of taken priority over the mayor's court issue. But yeah, I mean, those comments that I made that, it's a right that we have as a municipality, and, that the sheriff really shouldn't take that away through a contract. I still stand on those comments.
Thank you.
All right, anything further for Ms. Desai? Is there a motion to accept this oral report?
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, next we'll have one of our standing committee reports. That's coming from Recreation. Councilwoman Baber.
Like she said, Recreation, the meeting date was Wednesday, March the 1st, 2023 at 5:30. Members present was myself, as well as Councilman Daniels. Other present was interim manager John Keys and clerk of council Lisa Randolph. So my meeting summary, Councilman Daniels asked interim manager Keys if the Memorial Field would be ready for football season. No response. He also wanted to know about the $25,000 budget for 2022 for recreation, because only $5,000 was spent on the Deborah Say celebration. The interim village manager Keys said that monies are spent, is put back, unused monies are put back into the general fund and relocated every year. And he went on to say former village manager Joyce Powdrill allotted those funds as a match for the nature grant. He also said we operate under UAN and there is no recreation department. Recreation has been allotted $2,500 seed money for Lincoln Heights Day. It's used to get started and then recouped back, used over and over again. And then the interim village manager also said, we do not need council approval on what recreation do with the $3,750 because the grant was to be used to bring the residents outside. And Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell requested to use $1,500 of that money for Shakespeare in the park, leaving $2,200, in five, to use. We thought about a beautification project for the $2,250, but we're leaning towards Juneteenth function for June the 18th, 2023. Thank you, We Thrive. This money is not part of the general fund. Councilwoman Mitchell's hoped that Shakespeare was going to be free. And then Councilman Daniels would like to use the money for Lincoln Heights Day, and as well as myself, I wanted this as well, but we have since learned that we must use the grant. We have since learned that we must use the grant by the end of July 2023. And our interim village manager, Keys, must report back to We Thrive as to how the grant was spent.
Is there any questions for Councilwoman Baber?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not understanding what, you can't use the We Thrive money for Shakespeare?
No, we can't use the money for Lincoln Heights Day because Lincoln Heights Day is in September.
Is a later date, the money has to be spent before then?
Yeah, it has to be spent by the end of July.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When you say it has to be spent, that means it has to be spent. Nothing can be taken care of for Lincoln Heights Day before the money has to be spent? There's no deposit that needs to be paid for something?
According to, you could ask the interim manager if you like, because
I mean, I don't know
based
how that
on what he
works.
said.
So,
Is
Mr.
it
Key,
being
wait a minute, hold
spent, or
on.
the event has to be over as well? That's what you probably need to double check.
So, Mr. Key, could you elaborate on that regarding the dates? Does it have to be that particular event has to take place on that date?
I can definitely check with you. This is the 3750 MOU money. It's not an event money, and I can check with you. This was discovered when I wasn't here, as far as it had to be spent by July.
Okay.
So I can definitely check up on that. We're supposed to be meeting with Tim Frey from We Thrive pretty soon, so I'll check with him to see if it's the money has to be allocated or spent, or or if it has to be an event before that date, because she brings up a valid question, which is if you can spend the money before July on an event that's happening later, the money would be spent either way.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get some clarification.
All right. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Desai?
Mr. Key, to the extent this would help, and so this is my limited understanding of public financing, the key terms are appropriated, encumbered, and expended. And we learned a lot about this during the ARPA funds, right? Because we had all those deadlines. So, like, one of the things, and Mr. Key wasn't around, I think, at that time, that we learned was that we could do, if it just had to be encumbered, so we had to go to step 2. We had to appropriate it and encumber it, but we didn't actually have to spend it. We passed blanket encumbrances, and that satisfied the state agency that was overseeing those ARPA funds. So that might be a workaround where I can draft legislation. It could be a blanket encumbrance. So I don't know, but just something to keep in mind.
I think that, I was reading somewhere else, I think it's the ARPA funds in general that have to be spent by the 31st. So if We Thrive receive the ARPA funds, if this 3750 is ARPA money, it has to be spent by July 31st.
So it's item 3. It's not just appropriated, not just
And
encumbered.
encumbrances,
It's got to
right.
actually be
ARPA
expended.
money has to be spent by July 31st.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Key, being able to give us that update.
What if it's not ARPA money? What if it's just some other money?
But it's
I think,
ARPA.
I think,
ARPA.
yeah, I
I'm pretty
think it's
sure
coming
it's
from
ARPA,
there.
but we can check it.
These
but-
were additional funds that were left over, I'm pretty sure of.
If I'm correct,
and-
that was the deposit I paid for the RADs last time.
Wait a minute, excuse me,
Yes, ma'am?
our new administrator, he had a meeting with We Thrive on whatever day it was last week, and after that meeting, that's when he gave me that information, that the money had to be spent by July the 31st.
Okay. So, with Mr. Stack not being out sick, I'm sure he's gonna follow up with Mr. Key, that we can be able to verify what we need to do by the next council meeting, probably.
Yes, I'm certain, probably what Ms. Mitchell's saying is exactly the truth.
I was gonna ask you, have we spent all our ARPA funds?
No, but our ARPA funds don't have to be spent by July 31st.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, and in fact, it's probably the first round of money, not the ARPA, the HB 481 ARPA,
Okay.
rather than that's
Gotcha.
probably where this money is coming from, that we had to expend by the end of last year.
Okay.
Okay.
But I will definitely verify.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anything else?
But,
Yes,
Madam
ma'am?
Mayor,
Mm-hmm.
so my action item is working to bring residents outside, and thank you, We Thrive. Okay,
All right, thank you.
now I'm done.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing further, questions for Councilwoman Baber, is there a motion to accept the report?
Motion?
It's been moved in second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, Ms. Baber, great report.
Mayor?
Yes,
I'd
ma'am.
like to make a motion that council accept the March finance statement. Trusting that everyone has read it. We didn't have a meeting, but it was sent out in enough time for everybody to review it.
I will second that.
Okay. It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Mitchell. All right. So, Ms. Mitchell, oh, you know what, I'm thinking that it's time to have your finance meeting again, but we're back at the first of the month again. Yeah.
Right, I mean,
Yeah, I was about to say, oh, next finance, but yeah, we're back, which is gonna be her recreation meeting, so hopefully everybody will be there. I'm planning to be there at the finance meeting now that tax season is dwindled down. So looking forward to recreation. All righty, then that leaves, any old business.
I have a question regarding Memorial Field. So we have a chain link fence, you know, the regular aluminum fence. And then we have a wrought iron gate, black wrought iron gate. And then we have a wooden fence. Is there a way that we can contact the Reds Community Fund? Because for me, it looks tacky. It looks like it was just put there because there weren't, I guess, enough fence to go around. I have pictures, but if you look at it, it does not look inviting. It looks like with the wooden fence up there that, oh, we just gonna put this up here because we
It
don't
looks,
have any more of the regular
it looks
fence.
Mitch Mac.
Tacky.
I tried to put it nicely.
Could say some milk words.
It looks
You know,
Mitch Mac.
it's the aesthetic. It takes away from the aesthetics of the field. So I just think go up there and take a look at it. I'm not satisfied with how the appearance looks when you come up and you see 3 different
Fencing.
apparatuses up there, or fences. It doesn't look attractive at all.
Okay. All right, so I guess
But
that'll
we
be a
can-
conversation we'll have with Mr. Stack. Yes, sir.
As we were discussing in committee of the whole, we are going to have a meeting with the Reds as they turn on the spigot for the water on the field for the irrigation, and we'll definitely discuss that also. Find out really what happened, why it's that way, and then what we can do to remedy it.
Yeah. So, Ms. Mitchell, during the committee of the whole, Mr. Key did share with us, they're going to be doing a walkthrough. And they'll be able to look at some things that we thought was done, is not done. So, that will take place in the near future. So he'll come back and give us an update.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
So if you all haven't seen it, I'll send you a picture.
No,
Or
I've
just
seen
go up
it.
there. Thank you.
I've seen it. It's been like that for a minute.
Yeah.
You can see it just looking down the street. But, okay. All right. So if there's not any other old business, we can go straight into the new business. And so the new business, we're looking to do just a first reading because we are planning to invite Michelle Goslick back regarding the Triangle Trail. Previously, when she came, it was not enough it was some council members, but I would really like this, and we all need to have all of council here. So we will follow up with inviting her to come back to the next council meeting, and that way we hopefully have our PowerPoint working, so which I think will be a better visual effect if we can see whether Triangle Trail and what, like Councilwoman Baber mentioned, what properties are going to be impacted. That was one of her concerns. So we will definitely invite Michelle Goslick back, and so that's why we'll be just doing a first reading. Okay. So is there a motion in order for Resolution 2023 R23 in support of funding for the Mill Creek Triangle Trail?
Motion to read it by title only?
Second.
It's been moved in second to read by title only.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda I'm sorry, I apologize. Councilman Durance Daniels,
Yes.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kenzie Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. Village of Lincoln Heights, Hamilton County, Ohio, resolution number 2023-R-23, resolution in support of funding for the Mill Creek Triangle Trail.
Thank you. All right. Motion in order for the first reading of 2023 R24. Resolution authorizing the finance director to transfer monies between the object codes in the general fund.
Motion to read by title only?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Roll call.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilman Durance Daniels,
Yes.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kenzie Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass. Village of Lincoln Heights, Hamilton County, Ohio, resolution number 2023-R-24, resolution authorizing the finance director to transfer monies between object codes in the general fund.
Motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Roll call.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilman Durance Daniels,
Yes.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kenzie Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass.
Motion for passage.
Second? Or you asking
Move.
for more?
Move
Move?
Second.
and second. Roll call.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilman Durance Daniels,
Yes.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kenzie Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass.
Is there a motion to emergency clause?
Yeah, there's one. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Not two emergency. Is there a motion for the
Motion for
emergency clause? Can I-
Second.
Oh, sure, whatever.
First.
So
You
moved.
gave the first.
So she's
I'm asking for the motion.
You're asking for the motion.
She asked for
right?
the
Asking
motion.
for it.
Okay, give me a
Right.
first, Baber. And second, who's
By
second?
Councilman Daniels.
Councilman Daniels, all right. Vices
Deep
have
probably
a,
looking around
Vices
like,
have a very long
Part of the
day.
procedures is with the.
But we do have Ms. Baber formally moving for the
Yes.
emergency clause, correct?
Yes.
Second
And
by
then Mr.
Councilman
Daniels formally
Yes.
seconding. Okay.
Yeah, we got it. Okay. Roll call.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber.
Yes.
Councilman Durant Daniels.
Yes.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson.
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass.
Okay. Is there any miscellaneous business? All right, so if there's no miscellaneous business, there a motion for adjournment.
So move.
It has been moved and second. You all have a good night. All in favor?
Aye.
All is in favor, and you all have a good night.